All right, so we've been creating an Angular application, and what we've seen is that there is a root application, there's a root module, and that root module has lots of components. We have the product component, we have an app component, and we have a star component that we've been creating. And the application, the module, all of these are registered with our root module, and we have been creating an application. So now we're going to get introduced to this idea of services, and services is something that all the components share. And so let me kind of give you a visual of what we're talking about here. We're going to create what's called a dependency injection. That sounds like a pretty scary word, but all it means is I want you to think of, like in the prior video, our injector being our services. And so we're going to create a service. In our case, we're going to create an instance of our products array that we've been working with all this time. And the idea is that the application itself is going to create one instance of the product object that all components can share. And so the idea then is, if you go back to this slide, one object, one product array object is going to be created. And that one instance of the object, or that one instance of the product array object that we're creating, can be injected into each component that needs it. So rather than each component creating its own object, its own instance of the product's object, we're going to have the application create one instance, and if our components need it, it's called dependency injection. We're going to inject that service, inject that dependency into our components. And so dependency injection then is a coding pattern in which a class receives the instances of objects it needs. So just like we said, so the star class or the star component or the product component or the app component, whoever needs an instance of our product objects will get injected, which is also called a service. So via services, the Angular injector is going to inject that instance of the object into the constructor. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. So that's just get the overall idea. This is called dependency injection. And all it means in pretty English terms is the Angular application is going to create one instance of the object. And then if a component needs it, the Angular module will inject into the constructor that instance of the object. So let's see that in play. So the plan is that we have this array of objects. So all of these objects are hard-coded into our product component. And it's very possible that this application is going to want to have this product information available to lots of different components, not just to this one. And so hard coding it to this particular component was great to get started, but now I think it would be better if we created a service which will create a single instance of all of these products, of our array of product objects. And we will allow Angular to inject that singular instance into all of the components that might need it. So that's where we're headed. So in the products folder, I'm going to make a new file, and I'll call this product.service because it's going to be a service.ts. And just like we've done many times before, we're going to create the class. And this is going to be called product service, keeping the naming convention to indicate that this is a service of our products. Okay, and so then I'm going to create a method called getProducts. And that method is going to return our iProduct array. Okay, and let's see, return. And what's it going to return then? It's going to return an array of products. All right, so let's see. First of all, why are you unhappy? Well, probably because we need to import that. Okay, so let's import. There we go. Now I need to go get my products to put into this array that's going to be returned with getProducts. So I'm going to come back into my product component. I'm going to Control X. Oh, I guess I didn't have them all selected. So I'm going to cut out all of these objects and keep that array in place. So first of all, get products is going to be initialized to an empty array. Then we will inject into this array all of our products. So I'm going to go back into product services and return my array of products. Okay. Now that I have this service created, I need to make it what's called injectable. So decorator, there's the word I'm looking for, is an injectable. Auto import, yes. Okay, so now I've imported injectable and I'm using injectable, and what that does is it lets Angular know about the service and that it will be able to be injected as dependency injection, as we saw in the beginning of this video, this instance of our products into any component that wants to utilize it. And so what we'll need to do is, it's a method, and in that method we can send it an object, and our object is going to be, in this case, we're going to say that this is provided in, and I want to say root. And so what that means is that, and most of our services are going to be available to all the components within our app module. And that's what this is saying. So for the moment, we'll just assume that that's kind of a default, that everything should be injected into all of our components that are part of this app module. So that's what provided in is. Provided in the root module, we can inject this into any components that are part of the app module. All right. Okay, so now it's time to inject our instance of our array of product objects into our product component. And the way that we do that is through the constructor. So now we're back to this constructor idea. So in the constructor is where the service, where the Angular injector injects our instance of the products. And so I'm going to create a private. Now, if you're familiar with private and protected and public access modifiers, they're all available here. If you're not, because you haven't had that from another language yet, just recognize that for now, we're just going to always have the word private. And then I'm going to create a variable called product service. So this is the variable that's going to receive. This is going to be my instance of that object, and it is a product service. All right. And so now I've injected into this class my instance of the objects. And so I have this filter.products, okay. And so if we look at our page, nothing has happened yet. We haven't utilized those objects. We're blank because we deleted all the objects from our hard coding of our product component. Now that instance of all of those objects have been injected into our class. So let us utilize that. And we can set this.products, which is our product array, equal to, and then we're going to use the variable that we got the instant injected into us, which was the product service. And we created the method called getProducts. And so by doing that, it should return our array of products, and we should be able to see it on our page. And in fact, we do. So now we're no longer hard coding our products into our product component. It's actually available as a single instance object available to any components that might need to utilize it. So we're getting a little bit more efficient. We're not hard coding it into just a single component. We are putting it into a service that can be injected into any components that want to utilize it, thereby only creating one instance of this array as opposed to multiple instances if different components needed access to those products.